Okay, so welcome to our second Zoom. We did our first Zoom where we talked about chord progressions and hearing chords in their hierarchy of ones and five chords. You remember? So like we're in the key of F, F chord. Oh, there's a lot of glare. Sorry, I've got a backlight on here, so the piano's good. Maybe I'll move it this way a little bit. There we go. So that you start grouping chords together. So if you have your one chord, if we're in the key of F, it's my F chord right here. Okay, then the other most important chord is your five chord, and you calculate that by going, well, if F is one, and you think in the F scale, F, G, A, B flat, C, right? So C chord is my five chord, right? Okay. And at that time, we talked about making sure that you start to think about collecting together, right? So whenever you start seeing chords, you want to say, are these, how do they relate? Like, or if you find a chord, then what's its five chords? So anytime you find a chord, and it can be major or minor, it doesn't matter. Like if I'm on A minor, right? Okay, that's a chord that we know, A minor. Then what's its five chord? And so you can count up from A, but you got to think in the scale. Or if you just want to spell a major or a minor chord, then it's the fifth of the chords. So you go A, C, E. So my E chord, which you probably don't know how to play yet, right? Right there. Or another thing we learned is that five chords could be something called something seven. So for instance, back to our F, right? C, but it could also be C7. Okay. In fact, we saw this in the song that you transcribed recently, the "Your Cheating Heart," right? Where we were like, "Your cheating heart will make you weep." So we're in the key of C, right? You'll try and try. So if I'm in the key of C and I'm going to my G7 chord, C, E, G, 1, 3, 5. So C is the one chord, and we're framing up the end of that phrase with a G chord, but instead of a G chord like this, which would have been fine, you could also do a G7, okay? And try to sleep. And you can see this is our burger and bun kind of thing, right? It's burger patty, C chord, B chord, right? But sleep won't come. Gonna put the four chord on there now, which is cheese, right? Think of the key of C. The whole night through. Your cheating heart, G7. It's my five chord with the seventh on it. Will tell on you. Now, if you remember, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, because it was a transcription exercise. It's not like we practiced this a lot, but the bridge goes when tears come down, and I'm on the F chord right there for the bridge. We haven't really changed key, but temporarily we kind of did, because if you look, I went, "Will tell on you," and you might remember that the next chord was a C7. When tears come, and by the way, I'm pulling my fingers back, not because this is the right way to play, but so you can see it on the video. Like normally I was playing, I just keep them there, but then it's kind of ambiguous what I'm doing, right? When tears come down. And I turned my C into a C7. And whenever you have a chord that says blah, 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 seven, okay, not major seven or minor seven, but just note, name, and seven, that's another five chord form. It's unique. It pushes you more to the next chord. So in that case, this piece is in C, but heading into the bridge, it wanted to emphasize the F chord coming up. And temporarily, it made a five of that F chord right there. So it went from C, which is five, but it made it to C7, which pushes harder. You can hear that really wants to go to there, right? And we just we want to be thinking about that relationship all the time. That's the best way to contain our chords or think about them because it makes a hierarchy. So always make them in pairs and then think about other things in the scales as well. Um, and so we want to investigate and talk about seventh chords today. That's what we're going to do. And before we even do that, I'm just going to go over something that I want to clarify. Most people, I think, in this class are fine. Once in a while, there's a misconception, though. Maybe 1 in every 10 students will have a thing. And if you have this misconception, it's not your fault. It's just like stuff is new. I'm taking a couple different dance classes right now, and I'm playing hockey and things. And so I'm going to practices and I'm going to the classes and things. And you think you're doing it right. You're doing everything you think the teacher's told you to do. And then suddenly you're doing a leg lift out to the side, and she just comes over and grabs your leg and says, not like that, twist it like this, right? Twist your leg out. And it's like, your hip just kind of goes like, I can't do that. You know, everybody learns, everybody gets things in layers. Some things will be intuitive for you right away. Other things you make some mistakes and need adjustments. So before we head into actual chords and things, I want to try and go over one thing that may be a point of confusion. And if it's not, great, good on you, but just give me a minute here. Sometimes on tests, it'll say something like, what's this note right there? Okay. And somebody will give me an answer that says C major. Or I'll say, what's this note right there? And some people will give me an answer, oh, that's C major 7. They're right if I was asking what the chord was. And I want to explain the difference. Just make sure we're clear on this. A note is when you play one sound, one string, one particular place. So when I say, what's this note? I mean, what happens if I play the string only and play that sound? And we know that that's a C, it's high C, right? And if I put my finger there and I say, what's that note? That's a B, as in to be or not to be, because we're using our second finger. That's our memory device, right? If I were to play all the strings, though, that's the C major 7, which includes the B note, okay? Right? That's the difference. Chord is a bunch of notes played together, more than one string, all these sounds. And it will include, in this case, the C major 7 will include a C and an E and a G. We know our notes there, C, E, G. And you know that's the C chord. But instead of another C, it's playing a B as well, right? So it's not just this note, it's all of these together that makes the C7. If I said to you, hey, what's this note right there? That one right there. You don't want to tell me that's an A minor, because A minor is the entire, all of them together, right? This is just an A note. This is my G, and then up 2 half steps is an A right there. It's the same as that one right there. So notes are single strings, single points on a string, right? Chords are all of that together, played together, a bunch of notes, right? And so be careful if I'm asking you for a note and I say, what's that note? Even if it looks like a chord shape, it's not, right? We're just asking for the single note. Now that chord shape will have that note inside of it, and that's helpful, usable. But it's nice to see that because we want to know how to spell our chords and things. Okay. All right. Let's dive into we're going to pivot from seventh chords for a minute and just go into our midterm overview. Now, forgive me because I personally dislike going to meetings generally. And when they put up a PowerPoint and then they read you the PowerPoint, I hate that. And yet I'm going to kind of do that to you because it's critical that you get this correct, that you know what's going on. So today, part of the course or class is to go over what's on the midterm and when the midterm is. And you've got some videos and testing and quizzes and things that are supposed to help ensure that. I just want to go over it quickly here, demonstrate it visually once again in brief, so that you have that a chance to say, well, when you said this, do you mean this or that? So we're going to take just a minute. February 6th today, it's like, here's our meeting, and it says, here's the performance midterm comprehensive task list. Well, your midterm is going to consist of 2 parts. One is performing things on the ukulele, formative, and the other one is doing some online midterm theory type Canvas quizzes. Okay, so look at the performance one first. Okay, it says you're going to have a 15-minute one-on-one session with me. It's true. So it'll just be you and me in the Zoom call. So you, generally speaking, when you're in a Zoom call with me, you want to have the Zoom up on your computer or your phone. But if there's audio to play, like a background accompaniment, you need to do that on a second device. Zoom will cancel that sound out if it's on the same device. Okay, so you want to have 2 sources for that ready to go. Your appointment will be on Monday, February 12th, and I'll publish a tentative list saying, here are the times I have people scheduled, and hopefully everybody will be good. If there is a legitimate conflict, you're going to know about this early, like this week. You can contact me and we can say, oh, you can't do it at 8. Let's go at 7. Can't do it at 7. Let's go at 6. I'm kidding. We won't go earlier than much earlier than 8. Although I'm happy to. But we could schedule it a little bit later in the afternoon if you've got a work conflict or something like that. And so there'll be a schedule that's published. You'll get your 15 minutes. Inside that 15 minutes, you're going to do the following things. Okay, you're going to show me that your instrument is in tune. That's really important. We've done assignments on it. And so you'll play each string for me. You'll be like, here's this string right here, and then this string and this string and that string right there, and that one. We'll check that. Easy points. Okay. Tune up beforehand. It's not show me that you can tune. Be tuned ahead of time. You can use an app. You can use whatever you want. Just be in tune. Okay. And then you're going to play a C major scale. That means that you're demonstrating all the notes on the instrument in a way, right? So, and I'm going to talk over this because sometimes microphones cancel and then it doesn't pick up the ukulele, right? So forgive me while we're talking. You can name the notes if you like. You don't have to. I will so that the microphone's open and carrying this. We're looking for good hand position and the correct fingerings and the correct locations. And so we learned that this is the C right there, and then a D, and then an E, and then an F, and then a G, and then an A, and then a B, and then a C, and then we just go back the other direction, C, B, A, G. And we're going to use the G that's on the second string, not the open G down here, okay? G, F, E, D, C. Again, hopefully easy points, right? Again, we're looking for correct fingering, correct placement, comfort doing it. You shouldn't be like, that's C and that's D. That's too slow. You should be able to just go like this. Not too fast, but showing that you have muscle memory for where all those, okay? Good. Make sure that if you have questions or you need me to stop and clarify, that you're not afraid to just hop in chat and say, wait, or grab your microphone and say, stop, say this again, okay? But notice that it says we'll not use any of the fourth string notes for this, okay? Then we'll go through all your chords that we're testing today. We'll do it again, just right there, okay? So C, C major 7, C7, C6, A minor 7, F, G6, which is also E minor 7, G, G7, A, A7, A minor, and D minor. If you have your ukulele nearby and you're paying attention to this, Zoom, camera's off. I don't know, you could be checking Reddit right now. I don't know what you could be doing. Hopefully you're watching this, but for the full experience, grab your ukulele. I'm going to go through this and we're going to test like this later on today too. So they're not going to come in this order, but I'm going to call one out and I'm going to pause a second and then I'm going to play it. Okay. And this is how you're going to get tested on the midterm. And this is how you're going to get tested today too. And again, we're looking for relative familiarity, correct fingerings, correct locations. So let's just start with C. If you've got your ukulele, you can have your microphones off and stuff, that's fine. But can you play C? It's right there and you just strum it. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then I'd call out another one like, hey, can you play me an A7 chord? And you have to think, oh yeah, I know my A7. I put my first finger right there and you play like this. Okay, now I'm gonna go through these like we're testing today because it simulates today's test, but it gives you a chance to see yourself. So what if I said, play me an F chord? I'll give you a second. You should have it by now, and you go like this. And, I'll put my fingers out of the way so you can see, but, you keep them there. I'm not looking for these to be way out. I'm not looking for them to be way under. That's my F chord right there. Then I'd say, great, how about a C7 chord? And you'd go, I've got that one. It's a first finger, first fret. Good. And then let's say something like, hey, can you play me an A chord? And you go, it's just like A7, but something else. Give you a second. It's right there. Looks like a squished F chord, right? His finger comes up. And then I'd say, great, play me a G6 chord or an E minor 7. They're the same thing. And you'd go, oh yeah, G6, right there. Okay. Try and be ahead of me on this. See how you're doing, because you're getting tested today on this as well. Say, good. How about a C major 7? And you go, well, there. Now, just to be clear, although I won't be able to be in every break room and check this today, but if you're playing C major 7 with your first finger or your third finger or something like that, then that would be marked wrong on the midterm. I mean, not, you won't lose all your points, but I'd say, like, what finger should we be using? We're trying to get used to each of these fingers having a location, right? When they're used alone, and then in combination, there's a sort of orthodox fingerings, but C major 7 probably is just your middle finger, finger 2, right there. Okay. And I say, what about D minor? And you go, oh, D minor is difficult. And I'll help you. Remember, D minor is looks like an F chord, and then you tuck your other finger underneath there, like that. It's got a great sound. Sometimes I squish both strings with my middle finger, like that. It's whatever's comfortable for you. Okay. And then what else is there? There's a C6 chord, A minor 7, and that might be easy, but it might throw you for a mental loop. That is open strings, right? And then I'd say, what about a G7? And you'd say, oh yeah, G7, that's the one that's backwards. First finger's on the F, these two go out here, right? What about a G chord? This is the one I think most people, if you're going to make a mistake on fingering, you've developed a bad habit. Some people have learned to do their G chord by putting their first finger on that bottom string like this, and then it's backwards. First finger goes up top here. Your middle finger, where you're making your C major 7 chord, stays there, and the other fingers pivot on. G, right there, right? A minor is just half of the F chord, right there, right? I think that's all of them. That looks pretty good. Yeah. Again, not hard if you've been practicing. You'll be like, I got this. The whole test is supposed to be not hard if you've been practicing, right? These are all things that we've done. I'm a great believer, especially in an online course like this, that we teach you relevant things. We make you work really hard, and we give you lots of opportunities to do it again and again and again. So, this is all you proving and assuring both of us that you've mastered the curriculum that we thought was important to teach you. Okay, so there's not going to be like a surprise. Now I want you to do this new thing. Mm-mm. So the next thing you'll do is you'll perform Lavender's Blue, except you'll do it live instead of on a video. You'll put on the accompaniment. There's an accompaniment audio. You should have found that by now. Okay. And you'll play along, and we'll do it exactly like we did in the video. So the first time you will just strum chords while the accompaniment is going on, and I'll be singing in that. And then you'll sing dilly dilly. And I'm going doing the rest, but you're keeping time, right? You can think about where in the music it goes, when I am king. And then you sing dilly dilly. And I'm singing, you'll be my queen. We go through the whole thing. And then remember, we go back to the beginning and we play the melody, right? Like that. And then the last time we go back to measure 9 and you strum and sing to the end, right? Except you're doing it live and you're doing it with an audio file playing in the background on a second device, okay? And then you'll do Kudeldoon, exactly the same format as you did for the video. So you're going to start off with the music's playing and you'll be playing the melody. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. I'm singing not because you need to, but because I want to help my microphone stay open for this. When you have background accompaniment going on and you're playing, it'll be fine. Then, second time, and again, this is just like the videos, you're going to switch to finger strumming, and you're going to go and sing, right? La Bernie's doen net niet with Mukelfouch and din. Right? It's not quite that fast, but it's a little faster than the first video you made. Okay. And you do it exactly the same. You've been trained for this, and there's a process of performing once and then performing again and stuff like this that's important as a musician. So you see that your nerves get better and better every time you do this, and the more familiar you get with this. Most of the time in a high school experience, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is just because of time. If you're in a band or something like that, you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse and get ready for your concert. And it's sort of like boy, I hope I'm ready for the concert. I hope our group does well, and it's exciting. But when you go watch a professional concert or something like that, they've been playing those pieces for like ever, many times. They're not nervous because they could be almost comatose, and this is the first thing that will come out of their fingers and their mouths. So we're doing those two things live, okay? And that's it, 15 minutes. Now, there's some advice at the top that says generally it's not good to stop, right? Generally, it's not a good idea to do a retry and a retry and a retry. Um, if you make a mistake somewhere in the middle of Lavender's Blue, see if you just get back in on the next note or the next phrase or the next word. Same thing for Kudaldun. If it's an absolute, I fell off my instrument, that's fine. But probably after one sort of, can I start over? Like if you start and it's a misstop and it's like, we'll go at the very beginning, sure. But if you're stuck on one spot, like the da 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 da, the ending there, just let it blow by and keep going, right? You don't want to ruin the overall performance. You could try that like 5 times and it still might get stuck every time. And every time it gets stuck in a performance, it makes it worse the next time. Okay. I'll give you one other small piece of advice. What if there's one thing that's really messing you up and you're just going, I can't do this on my performance. What do I do? Skip it? Maybe do something simpler. Keep going and then just sort of don't do that one thing and keep going on. Make a simpler version of it, something. Your goal here is to make a good performance. If this was a calculus test and you got 99% of the things right, and you knew that there was one part of it that the question you kind of got wrong and you came out and you got like, oh, I got 98.5%, you'd be probably pretty happy. Got to think the same way about this, right? Doing this performance will also get you better, at the next time. Helps you get up to the next level. All right, that's your midterm performance. The other thing you'll also do is you'll make a video of you playing, you and I, which we've been working on this week, right? Where you strum the chords and sing. No accompaniment track, nothing. You can use any style. It can be as sparse or active as you want. But it's just you saying, look, if I had to play this piece and perform it, I could make it convincing. It could be like good sounding, right? And then there is another video you'll make of you playing the melody only, and your metronome will be set to 50 beats a minute. That's very slow. That's like, okay. I don't have a metronome going on, but um, the reason we want you to do that, and you're only going to measure 12, is that using a metronome is an important tool, and playing slow is hard to do until you master that and in time with the metronome. So don't go like, oh, that's slow. I don't need to do that. Practice that. Okay. So those are two videos that they're performance grades for the midterm, but they're videos you submit. They're not live performances. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna head back and we'll go over the other midterm stuff. Written midterm. There's a quiz that does each one of these things. And I just want to point out that you've done all these things. So one is note naming and correlation. It means that you see a note, you can say, what's that note? Where is it on the keyboard? Where is it on the staff? Where it's on the fretboard, right? No sharps and flats. Oh, questions about what a sharp or a flat does, okay? Basic counting of rhythms. You know what? At the risk of making spoilers happen, I'm going to show you these quizzes. I think it's important that you just see the format. Okay, so let's see all the way down here. PDFs, all about the midterm. Here it is. You can't see them yet, but like, let's see. Yeah, sure. So this is closed book, right? You can use, pens and scratch paper and stuff. You can have your ukulele, right? One question requires you to record yourself. You only get one attempt. Let's kind of preview what this looks like. Lots of time for it too, right? So it says like, hey, which one of these is the correct rhythm, right? So there'll be like some rhythm and then some counting, and it's got multiple choice versions of the counting on there. You have to pick the right one. You got to remember when do we bracket numbers, when do we add ands, those kind of things. There'll be note equivalencies. How many of these equal how many of those? We'll talk about that in a minute. And then there's like a, please tell me which rhythm I played in the recording. And then the last one is, here's a rhythm you put on a metronome and make a recording of yourself. Let's talk about this thing about how many notes equal how many notes. I'm gonna switch cameras real quick. I'm gonna go off of share for a second. Again, I don't want you to get choked up because of the form. Okay. So a question is like this. Well, if you have one of that, how many of these does that equal? And you have to think about that. That's a quarter note. That's an eighth note. That's half a beat. That's a beat. So it's two. Yes? But what if I said, well, what about that equals how many of these? Now the math gets a little bit more difficult. So two of these equals a beat and two of these equals that. So 4. Yes? Now, what about this? X, right? How many of those? Think about this for a minute. This is 2 of these, but the dot adds 50% more. So 1 quarter note, 2 quarter notes equals that. And then 50% more is 1 more quarter note. So the answer is 3. So, you got to think about your rhythms that way. Okay. All right. I'm going to share screen again. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Triads is going to make you spell triads, identify triads, tell me how to change one kind of triad into another triad. Scales is going to have scales for you to, well, let's see. This might be worth previewing. It says first off, match their descriptions. Again, we're not asking you to do anything new or tricky, right? But there's like D flat major is, well, how many flats does that have? It's got D major, which has 2 sharps. You flat everything. There's 7 notes. So 5 flats, everything's flat except for F and C. So it's that kind of thing. It's all your flashcards. And then there's this is a little bit crazy here, but I want you to think about this for a minute. If these notes are here, and I say, well, what scale is being represented? First off, it's asking you, can you name these notes, right? So like note number 1 could be called this, and since it's on a black note, it could be something sharp or something flat, just the names for all of them. And then you put it all together and you say, is this a 2 flat scale or a 2 sharp scale? And you check it against what you know about those things, right? So, and then there's like common notation errors, like forgetting to put the flat or sharp on the top of the note, or putting it on the wrong side of the note, or putting the flats and sharps above the notes instead of beside them, that kind of thing, right? Okay. And let's see, what else? I guess the last part is theory and miscellaneous. So we talk about deconstruction and physical resistance and mental resistance, right? And so it's asking about that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so those are the other things you do. These will be due by the Sunday night before your performance, okay? These will be open on the weekend for you to do, and then you do your performance midterm. All right, that's that. I'm gonna stop sharing now. I hate doing that, but I feel like this is the place where maybe you can ask a clarifying question. Does anybody have a concern, something they want to ask about? Do I need to do this? Will I need to do that? What if I get to the thing and my internet blows up? I have common sense answers for all of these things. Make it work. If the tech, if you've taken reasonable assurances to make sure your technology works and your internet works and something happens, we'll reschedule you and figure it out. We're not gonna, you'll already have enough stress over that, right? But on the same side, I've been teaching for 20 years here at the college and 5 or 6 before that. I know when a student's kind of messing around going like, yeah, I can just do what I want. treat the class well, and I'll be incredibly accommodating because I want you to be successful. All right, enough of that. I'll start to cry. Let's get on to seventh chords. Fun new stuff. Now, let me premise everything we're saying here by this. All the stuff about seventh chords that we're going to teach you now, not on the midterm. Okay. Midterm is about like first 5 weeks stuff, right? Up to what we have been doing recently. Anything now is plowing forward into the next term. Okay. And let's give you a quick overview of some of the things in the term. We're going to get into minor scales and minor keys, and so you'll get pieces that do that. So like I think I've already previewed the when marimba rhythm starts to play. New songs like that, you'll download them and we'll get to work on those. You'll get into new styles of playing like finger style. So we're going to learn the Rondeau by Jean-Joseph Mouret. It's the Masterpiece Theater. So we'll be doing finger style, right? And we'll be moving up the fretboard, right? Right? Right. So we'll play that. And then we'll learn triple strumming. Triple strumming's cool. So triple strumming is when you are not just doing thumb strums down or this. This is single strums, right? This is double strums. And triple strums are, and they're fun. So we'll incorporate that into a piece of music too. And we'll get to do a couple like pieces of music that are super famous. You'll also get to learn a song that I wrote that I just want to make sure everybody has memorized for the rest of their life, where they go like, oh, we'll do this strum as well, which is thumb strum. Then you'll learn the backwards alphabet song. Z, Y, X, and W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So that will be fun. And you get to play that by memory. Well, that's another thing. We'll work on playing something by memory as well. So we will now move into intermediate things on the ukulele and theory topics. And that's so much fun. But there are more difficult pieces and things that you'll go like, oh, I can't just learn this in 2 days or 3 days. Like this thing here where we do the triple strum is about 3 weeks of developmental practice, right? So it's neat because you're going to get this new experience where you say like, okay, this is so hard that I can't just do this. I can't do this after a weekend of practice. I have to spend 3 weeks of practice to get this figured out. Same thing for the hand positions on the, like, right? You're going to go up to these. You'll have these pre-made shapes that you'll have to, they're easy to explain. You can do them really slowly, but it will take a couple weeks for you to get okay at them. And that's just a completely different skill set and maturity as a musician that you'll get, because you'll be like, I can sit down and I know that if I break this down and I'm patient with it and work it a little bit, it will grow. And so that's neat, the level of confidence and a little bit of panic to begin with. Okay. So those are all cool things we're going to do. We're now going to talk about seventh chords. Okay. Seventh chords as opposed to triads, right? And this is where you probably, if you have your paper keyboard, this is where you get to use it. Okay, so I'll give you a second. You can find it. If not, you can sort of overlay your hand over the screen or something like that with me. But you want to pay attention for this because this is one of our primary focuses. At the beginning of this term, we worked on triads, 3-note chords. Now we're going to work on 4-note chords called seventh chords. Okay, they're called seventh chords because with the 3-note chord, you go root, third, fifth, because you count up like C is 1, D we miss, right? 3 is E, F we miss, which is 4, and then my fifth is the fifth step up is G. Well, we just keep going. 6 would be A, we're not going to use that, but 7 would be B, right? And so we're adding another one on top, okay? I'm going to switch camera to the piano, and I'm going to do some writing and some playing there as well, okay? And we will loop back to the ook in a minute, but hold on just a second. Okay, so if you've got your If you've got your keyboard with you, that would be good. Or you can kind of look if you want here. All right. So here's what I want you to do if you've got your keyboard handy, or you can pay attention here. If we count up from, well, let's go from C right here. Okay. That's 1, we call it root. 2, 3, that's E. This is review, right? So there, that's my root and my third, because root 2, 3, 4, 5. Root third fifth is a triad, right? Like this. Now, if I go root third 5, 6, 7, that's my seventh. Okay. And so the notes in a chord that starts on C that has a seventh on it are C, E, G, and B. Good so far? Hope so. Please be brave and stop us in the chat if you want that re-explained or anything re-explained. Okay, let's do the same thing with D. If I say to you, spell me a D chord, you go like D, F, A. And then you'd go up 2 more and you'd find C. Okay? And that's good as a concept, but we want to get good at calculating that seventh quickly without having to go through everything else. So I'd like you to try something. If you've got your keyboard, or you can follow with me. I'm using my right hand here. Okay. I'm going to make an E chord with a seventh. And what I want you to do is I want you to start with your pointer finger instead of your thumb on the E. Okay. And then you're going to spread out. There's my G and there's my B. All right. See that right there? Okay. B, G, B. When I want the seventh, I just add the thumb. There's my seventh there. So E, you don't have to go E, G, B, D. You can, but if you just go E, G, B, and then say, what's beside my E in the other direction? D. That's your seventh. And that's how you calculate these so quickly without having to jump through all the hoops. Let's try this for a minute. And we will have you type in chat now. Let's do this. If you type in chat, wait to count to 3 to type it in there so everybody has a chance to figure this out. And you can physically do it, you can watch me do it, or you can just get good at this doing it mentally. My cat has now decided he thinks he's part of this video, like hungry or something. I might have to pick him up in a second here. All right, let's make a C chord, right? And tell me what the seventh of a C chord is. Now, grab your chat, prove that you're still paying attention and you're here. What's my seventh of a C chord? I've counted to 3. That's great. Yes. Good. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Good. And I'm not sure who that was because it flew by quickly on my notifications, but you don't have to go C, E, G, B. We're just asking about the seventh. It's right there. Yeah. Nice. Let's make an F chord. Now, you don't even need to see me spell this out or do it visually here. Just as long as you go in the other direction as opposed to like forward through the alphabet, you'll be fine. If I have an F chord, it's FAC. If I want to make it have a seventh on it, what's my seventh? You guys are fantastic. That's so good. Everybody got this? Everybody got that figured out? Do it without looking at my keyboard if you're looking at your keyboard, okay? And let's do a G chord. What's the seventh of a G chord? Now just do this mentally in your head. Sometimes we get it backwards. You might think, oh, it's an A, but it's not an A because you're going in the wrong direction. Yeah, nice, right? There it is right there. All right, I'm gonna pause for a second here. Anybody that doesn't get that, be brave enough to say, no, explain that to me again, right? We'll do it. Okay, we have like, you know, we're gonna cut you into break rooms to test each other on chords in just a few minutes here, but I want to make sure that everybody's okay. All right. All right, you can also, you know, contact me on the side as well. All right, now, here's the next thing I want you to think about. Do you remember how when we did triads, you'd say, well, CEG is 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, 2, 3, right? So it's 4 plus 3, so it's a major triad. Or D was 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 3 plus 4, and that was a minor triad. And then 3 plus 3 was a diminished triad. And this drastically changes the nature of how this sounds, right? Okay. So the same is true with your seventh. How far apart it is from the root makes a big difference. And then what kind of triad you combine it with also is a big thing. So if I make my C chord here, and we all did this and said that there's my B, right? Notice that this is 1/2 step down, right? There's no black key between, it's just a 1/2 step down. Okay. We call when you go down a 1/2 step to the next, to the 7th, we call that a major 7th. It has to do with the fact that if you go in the other direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's 11 1/2 steps up, but you can just say it's a 1/2 step down. Okay. That has a specific sound. Okay. If you combine that with a major triad, it sounds kind of glassy and sad and pretty like this, right? And if you go look at Nora Jones or somebody, or the Peanuts Christmas music, has that kind of sound. So that major 7th or a 1/2 step down plus the major triad, we call a major 7th chord. Major triad plus a major 7. But let's take a look at G. Okay, G is also a major triad, right? But if we go to our 7th, which is F, I'll give you a second there, look at my hand. How many 1/2 steps down is that? 1, 2, right? 2 1/2 steps down because of where it lays out on the keyboard. If you have 2 1/2 steps down, we call that a minor 7th, because when you go up from the root, it's 10 1/2 steps instead of 11. Minor 7th. Now, a minor 7th is the name of the interval, but if you combine a minor triad, so G, B flat, D, and a minor 7th, you get something called a minor 7th chord. And it has this beautiful jazzy kind of sound. It sounds a lot like Pink Floyd, actually. And if you combine a major triad with that minor 7th, you get what we call the dominant or the 5 chord right here. So like if I go like this, there's my G chord. It's my G7 chord, and it goes to here. It pushes, it's a 5 chord form. And if you combine a diminished chord, here's my diminished D, and a whole step down, then you get something called half diminished. And if you put 3 1/2 steps down, it's a diminished 7, and it's a fully diminished 7 chord. And it sounds like we're tying somebody to a railroad track and twisting our mustache and going, the train's coming, right? They have different sounds and they have different jobs. So if you understand 2 basic concepts, you can add a 7th to the chord, and the quick way to calculate that is to go back 1 note from the root. Okay, that's concept number 1. And the distance from the root to the 7th going down, whether it's a 1/2 step, a whole step, even 3 1/2 steps, changes what we call that. And also when you combine it with different triads, you get all these different kinds of sounds. That's really cool. That's gives you all the other chords that we want to know. Okay. The first one that I just want you to think about is this. If I have a major triad, right? C major triad, and I go down 2 1/2 steps with the root right there. Right there. So this is C plus not B, but B flat, 2 1/2 steps down. That's your blah, blah, blah 7th, right? That's the 5 chord form that we talked about, okay? And we'll spend a lot of time videos memorizing the different combinations and things like that. But they're so much fun. They give you color. It's like saying triads are nice, but it's like your basic food, and putting 7th on something makes it be like pretty or cloudy or colorful or nuanced, like that major 7th chord we were talking about. I'm just going to bet that in our group, there's some Avatar: The Last Airbenders anime fans at there somewhere at some point. At the end of every show, when they're flying away on their buffalo, the bison, Appa, and they go like, oh, it's going to change. So you always hear this like, that's a major 7 chord, right? So when you hear the diminished 7th chord, it sounds like, it's got this sort of wrapped up kind of thing in it. When you place dominant 7th chords with a major triad with the minor 7th on it, like the G7, if you play that on everything, it sounds like you got the blues. So it'd be like, right? So they have flavors and sounds about them. It's exciting. You're gonna be all grown up, know all your chords, leave going confidently. I can play anything. So, all right, there you go. I'll publish a schedule of tentative appointments soon. I think by tomorrow I'll have that up. And yeah, just dust off your old pieces. Make sure you're doing everything okay that you can do it live. I'm going to put you into break rooms now. You should have that list of the chords and you should test somebody, right? And then after you're done testing somebody and they've tested, you've been tested, this time you're going to go and report on them as opposed to last time where it was a little more like kind of say I did it and stuff. Let's see, where are we here? February 6th. So after you've tested each other on those chords, have that list there. You go to peer chord evaluations and you'll say, here's a picture of what they did. So take a little picture of your how you mark them, right? And your own, because you only can put one picture on at this. You can't put two pictures in. So make sure you take a picture of yours and theirs together at the same time. You keep track of yourself too, right? The goal here is not to be tested and on gotcha. It's so that we all have a realistic idea of how we're doing, hopefully well, for the midterm next week. Okay. And then you just give me a little feedback, right? Right. Did it go well? Do you need some help? Did the other person do okay? Not a paragraph. Okay. All right. But take pictures of yours and their results. Okay. Making break rooms, and I will turn off recording at that point. And in fact, I'll just turn off recording now.